Hey there! Today we're going to be putting together the Billy bookcase from Ikea. This is one of their most popular items ever sold since 1979. One approximately sells every 5 seconds. Well, let's figure out how to put it together. First things first, unbox the packaging, and I like to take everything out of the box first and lay it out on the floor and organize it so I know I have everything. Then I like to take a quick look at the instructions, find out what tools I need as well as what parts I have in the bag. One nice thing about Ikea is that a lot of the parts are all to scale, so you can lay them out over the paper to find out which ones are which. And up here you can see what tools you'll need. You'll just need a screwdriver, pencil, hammer, and a straight edge. Starting with the first few steps, we have these wooden dowels that we're going to put into these planks on the ends right here. You just tap them in with a hammer. Okay, so we've already messed up, and it's something that you might run into as well. You see how these dowels on the inside are pushed in farther? That's a sign that these don't go here. Turning the board over, you can see that there's a larger hole that those go into. That's going to come in later in the steps, so we need to backtrack a little bit and then I'll take these dowels out with some pliers. Now that we've figured out where we went wrong, we can finish putting in the dowels. Here's a quick look on what they should look like once you're done with the first few steps. So notice how I've left the inside hole empty, because that's going to come in later. And you have all on this side as well as this side over here. Now we can move these pieces aside and pull in the side pieces that are the tall pieces that go down each side of the bookcase. Next, we're going to install these screws with the long heads. I like to use the ratcheting screwdriver. It allows me to be more steady as well as get this step done faster. Right now, I'll just take a second to give you an idea of what's going on here. The head of this screw is going to basically hold the shelf in place using this mechanism here, where once you insert it into the large hole, it's going to wrap around the head of this screw and cinch it tight, just like that. So that's why we're putting the screw into the sides first, and then we're going to install the shelves on it afterwards. And I'll show you how to do that. All right, here's a closer look on where these screws are supposed to go so they'll fit properly into the shelves. Notice that there's some blank holes next to it. That's where the wooden dowels that we put into the shelves earlier are going to fit into. Next, we're going to work on one side first. So we bring the shelves over. Notice how this piece has two wooden dowels in it. It's not going to be held in by one of those mechanisms. It's just the bezel piece for the bottom of the shelf so you don't see what's underneath it. Now we can move to the shelving pieces. Now these are directional. See how this side's painted and this side is not? That's going to matter. So we need to position it to where the painted side is going to be facing outward. You can tell which way is the outward portion because the side of the bookcase is straight and the little notch at the bottom is for the back of the wall. And we'll put the next one here, making sure the painted side is forward, inserting the dowels into the side. Now just giving you a closer look here, you can see how the head of that screw is protruding into that hole a little bit. That's where we're going to insert the mechanism. Make sure it goes all the way in, either flush or below flush, so you can make sure that it's twisting around properly when you lock it into place. Now we'll take a flathead screwdriver and turn that mechanism 90 degrees so it wraps around and cinches the shelving into place. You don't want to make it too tight. As soon as it stops or clicks, you know you've gone all the way and you're good to go. Pull it, make sure it doesn't come out. Now we're going to put the top of the bookcase on. The only difference between the top and the other shelves is that it's going to be backwards, so that the holes are going to be facing towards the ceiling, making sure that the paint's in the right spot. This is so you don't see any of the hardware that's attaching when you look up at the bookshelf. Here's an example here. Notice how this is reversed so that those are on the top of the bookshelf so you don't see them. Now that we have that in place, we can bring the other long shelving side piece over and insert it into the dowels on the other side. Make sure that all of it lines up before you smack it down and tighten it, otherwise you might break it, so make sure all the dowels are in place before you press down on it. Then, just like before, you can go in and insert all the mechanisms to tighten down each of the piece. See, that's not flush there? We want to make sure to press that down a little bit farther so we can get it in properly. Now we can lay this down so that the slotted edge is facing up so we can get the back of the shelving in place. Before we do that, we want to make sure that we make a little pencil mark right here where the shelf is. This is going to come in handy for when we're nailing the backing onto the shelf so that we know where this piece is at. And I'll show you where this comes in later. Now we unfold the backing and start to insert it into that slotted edge so that we can nail it into place afterwards. It's going to take a little work, but once you get it into the slotted portion, you can slide it all the way up to the top and get it into place. Remember those pencil marks? Well, now we're going to draw a line between them on the back of this backing plate here so that we know where that middle shelf is. We need to know where that middle shelf is because we're going to hammer nails into that back piece to hold this backing plate on. Now we're going to grab all our little nails and hammer them into place. The instructions give you a little suggestion on where to put them. I like to put 2 per fold, and I'll show you here. See, between each fold I have 2 hammer nails. That gives you an even spread all across. So on the bottom piece here, in the middle, where we drew the line, and on the top. Now it's not going anywhere. Now that we have the basic frame done, you can stand it up where you want to place it in the room, and now we can start by installing the shelves. Now these are the shelf holders here. Pick a spot that you want on each of the little suggestion holes here. Make sure they're even, and then you can insert each of these little pieces into those holes, making sure that the dowel is pointed up and the little tang on the bottom is pointing down. Now that we have that into place, see those holes right there on the bottom of the shelves? That goes into that dowel and holds the shelf into place. And you're going to do this for all of the shelves that came in the box. Now this final step is highly recommended by me and Ikea. This is to brace it against the wall so it doesn't fall over. It's just 2 screws, one into the wall and one into the bookcase. Now to do this, we need to find a stud. You can get a stud finder at any hardware store. It's pretty cheap, but you want to find a stud in the wall like so. Now we know where to put the screw brace. And there you have it. We've completed the Billy bookcase and attached it to the wall. Now it's ready to store stuff on it. These shelves are all adjustable. It's sturdy to the wall. And it should be able to hold a good amount of weight, but not too much. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you like, subscribe, and leave a comment, the usual. And again, this has been Not a Tech Show. I will see you next time.